Hey guys, Marco here. Marco with a beard this time. I'm going for the John Petrucci look. Uh, Today we're going to talk about this awesome new Blackstar HT 60 2x12 Mark II Generation 2 and discuss what it's like to own one, most importantly what it sounds like. A few quick things. First and foremost, as always, thank you so much for all the nice comments on my channel. As you know, I'm not a store, I talk a lot. These things are brand new. There's only, I don't think there's any reviews up there except for maybe a few stores advertising them. They just started shipping. You know, if you want a quick store review to tell you it's great and buy it, go look at that. What I like to show you is what it's like to own one and what I think at this point, having spent about 5-6 hours playing on it, what I think. Quick backstory without boring you too much. You know, I've been playing Marshalls, 5150s, Fenders all my life. I was looking for an alternative and wanted something fresh to kind of re-inspire me. I knew about Blackstar but never really played them, so if maybe you find yourself in the same situation, being intrigued by them but not really sure, I think I can give you maybe an honest assessment of what these things are all about. And it's hard for us musicians to find new things to get re-inspired. So I looked online at Sweetwater where I buy all my stuff. And then I saw Blackstar shipping new generation. Now I've never played really Blackstar before except for on a few sessions here and there. So for me it was kind of a new experience, which made it very exciting. Kind of like, oh wow, a new generation. I'm catching it at the time of an upgrade, and I assume that maybe they have improved on a few things. So I can't, maybe the good thing is that I cannot give you really a history, but a very neutral review of what it's like for me as a first-time Blackstar buyer to experience what it's like to own one and what I think of the sound. People swear by them, some people love them, hate them, but then again, when it comes to amp, just like guitars, I think you're never going to find a musician that's happy all around with anything out there. Some people swear by Marshall, some people by Fender. I'm not so much considered about the badge as it making me happy. And I purposely wanted something this time around outside of Marshall and Fender, just to kind of open a new horizon for me. Before we get going on the sounds, let's first, let me show you real quick what it ships like, what it looks like when it arrives. I'll walk you around the front and the back panel, talk about the build quality, because this is $1,000 amp, it's not a cheap amp, and there's certain expectations you're gonna have when you spend $1,000 on an amp. There's also 1x12, which is $899, $100 cheaper. But you know, if you're going to spend $900, you might as well just spend the extra $100, because 2x12s need less power to push the same volume, and therefore the idea is to get a little bit more clarity. Think of it as horsepowers with an engine. More horsepower requires less energy at the same speed as the one engine with the lesser horsepower. Will you really hear the difference? Maybe not, but I wanted a 2x12. Something that I can gig without having to go cabinet style. I already have cabinets, so let's discover it together, see what it's all about, and we'll go from there. Let me first show you the box that it came in. Just the typical you would expect, like any amp comes in this brown box. It was very well packed with the usual styrofoam. Just gives you a quick, obviously tells the model this is a 212 instead of 112. And it's very, very heavy. I felt really bad for the FedEx guy that had to carry it up here. But the amp is 64 pounds. And obviously with the box and packing, it's probably slightly heavier. But the usual, very well packed and ready to rock. This is the book that the amp ships with. The usual user manual. It covers the 112 and the 212 and the head, because they're pretty much all the same. Nothing fancy, just what you would expect with respect to if you were a first-time electric guitar amplifier user, what is. I can assume that you know what a clean channel, a distorted channel is, etc. It mainly is important to know how these different voices work because the amp is extremely versatile, and it talks about the infinite shape feature, what we will explore in a second. Basically everything to the right or off is mimicking a USA type of sound, and everything going clockwise and lights on is basically a British, more kind of muddied up woody sound, which is basically exactly the word, the language and wordage they use in here. But as a rule of thumb, if there's anything you need to know, whenever the lights are off on the amp and everything is counterclockwise, it's mimicking a USA type of sound. When everything is to the right, fully clockwise up, then it's supposed to mimic a more British type of sound. And they are kind of marketing it as kind of 2 amps in one, supposedly giving you the option of having the best of both worlds. Therefore, you would assume when everything is in the middle, that you would kind of have a mixture of the two, which we will explore shortly. Let's check out the back panel of the amp and see exactly what options you have with respect to outputs and other things that are that Blackstar put in on the back. There's some really fantastic stuff going on back here, and we'll work our way from left to right here. Obviously the power plug, which is 120 at 215. You got your main fuse. This is really cool, the speaker outputs. Obviously the one that's connected here is obviously going to the 8 ohms. You got a 116, 8 to 216, and then you got a 2 times 8 or 1.4. So really cool, kind of like the JVM on the higher end models on the Marshall. So just fantastic. Don't know if you're ever going to use it. I mean, if you were to need all of these, you're probably going with a cabinet anyway. But obviously, you know, for $1,000 amp, you got to of course have the options, and spectacular options here. You got emulated outputs, which is really cool. Line out direct into, let's say, I don't know, an interface, or of course headphones mostly. DI direct output. I doubt you'll ever use that, but again, great to have the options. This is really cool if you want to switch between 4 times 12-inch speakers or 112. Just again, just very basics, but what you would expect from a $1,000 amp, and you really have it all here. This is interesting. You can switch between a dark and light, and one kind of mimics a spring and another one kind of like more of a plate reverb. I couldn't really tell much a difference when playing it, but it's just kind of cool to have. It is obviously a digital reverb. I think from having played it so far for a few hours, the quality of the reverb is really good. I couldn't tell much a difference between the dark and light because you're gonna probably process your signal a little bit anyway, but you know, I guess it's good to have. Effects loop, obviously gotta have that return and send. Whenever you use a high quality amp like that, you don't want to use the pedal and plug it into the front. You're going to use the 4-cable method. If you don't know what that is, I talk a lot about it, and there's a lot of you know, videos on YouTube regarding that. So you would never plug in the pedal from the front, but you would use the 4-cable method, meaning you borrow the effects from the pedal, but it's the amp's preamp that you're using. So if you have, like I use, let's say a Boss GT100, which I think is phenomenal, you're going to borrow the delay and chorus and flanging and all those things from it, and maybe some gain to add to this gain for soloing and lead and effects, but you're really gonna use the 4-cable method, so you don't use the actual preamp of the pedal. Otherwise, what's the point of having this? And you have a nice little boost here, 4 and -10, which obviously is very common. The foot switch, 2-way, 5-way. I have to say, you know, first disappointment is that you know, the higher end model doesn't come with the 5-way. You got to spend the $80 and getting you know, the 5-way switch. I feel like the 212 should come with the 5-way, just to kind of make it a little bit more attractive to bridge you over to spend that extra $100 to buy the 212. But you know, it comes with the 2-way. It is what it is. And USB out, which is really cool. And I'll go a little bit over here. So here's your USB out, which is fantastic for recording. That's just a really great plus to have. This here right there is the foot pedal that it comes with, which is this 2-switch. It does change channels between the clean and the two gains, and then you have the voice you can choose on each, which is cool, but I would have appreciated them including the 5-way on the higher end one. I'm gonna go back a little bit here because I just want to show you the build quality of this thing is absolutely fantastic. First and foremost, I love how it's enclosed here. You know, just the craftsmanship is spectacular with these big chrome glossy screws. You see the two 12ers in there, which are spectacular. You can kind of see a little bit of the L34 that's housed in there, right there. Sorry if you don't see it too well, but obviously it's hidden for protection, the tubes. And just just that grill here is really cool. You know, you know, it's really, the build quality is solid. I mean, remember, it's 60-something pounds, but the build quality is just absolutely fantastic. And I'll walk around here a little bit while I have it elevated before we turn it to the front. These handles are so well designed and thought out. Rather than screwing them in, they made it part of the frame. So when you lift it together, it's not too heavy. You know, carrying it alone, of course, it's a beast. But just from the back, the way it's enclosed and the actual craftsmanship is absolutely spectacular. Let's check it out from the front. The amp overall is absolute top quality. And it's one of those things you have to see it in person to really appreciate it. But just the build quality, the finishes, the way, you just, when you look at it, it feels so well built and so well done. The material choice, the way it's put together, is just one of those things that when you hold it, it just feels expensive and it feels great. No shortcuts. The screws, the way they're in there, the way they look massive, that leather grip you have here feels brutally solid. The grill and that little lining they have, and the grill itself is not like wanky and washy. It feels just absolutely superb. You have, of course, your corner shielding here, and again, that kind of cool cutout to have a friend help you lift it. It's really, really spectacular, and I don't think the video nor pictures will do it justice. Let me set this down and walk you through the front panel, and I'll put that right here so you can see what we got here. We talked about the back panel, and I also love the logo, the way it looks. It just really feels solid as hell. You put the power on, of course the light will come on. I have the amp elevated a little bit, so when we plug in later, I'm not out of frame. It's the little things that really give you the idea of quality. The knobs, they're not loose. They have like a little resistance to them. You really gotta kind of work slightly, put some energy in there to move them, which just gives it that feeling of solidness. And I'm gonna actually work my way back rather than from the left to the right. You have, and only usually higher model amps have this, an immediate switch to drop it from 60 watts to 6. That's amazing. So you can have the full power and juice of the quality of the signal and the gain, but it just cuts the voltage by 1/10, which is spectacular to have that without sacrificing the sound quality. So rather than having to go at home, if you have neighbors and you don't want to get kicked out of your apartment, rather than putting the master volume down, you can just cut it to 6 watts. This is your master section. You have the usual resonance, presence, and volume. Resonance is just basically what it says. I don't want to waste time on educating on what that is. I'm sure you know, and presence is just standard presence like you have on all the amps. Your reverb level, that controls the level of reverb, obviously. I've never been a big fan of using, remember this is all subjectively of course, but I've never been a fan of using built-in amp reverbs. They're good. Again, I haven't seen a big difference between the light and dark. I think maybe it's a little bit of a gimmick, but it's a good quality reverb, and I'll show it to you when we plug in. We have the infinite shape feature. Now, I'm gonna grab the manual here, actually tell you, because you're going to have to decide if this is a gimmick or not, but I'm going to read to you what Blackstar says that it does. The infinite shape feature control works in conjunction with the bass, middle, and treble controls. It allows you to choose the exact tonal signature you prefer. Fully counterclockwise, has American characteristics with a tight bottom end and a more aggressive middle, and fully clockwise, a British characteristic, which is more woody and less aggressive. So the idea of what they're trying to sell is, you know, American. You can kind of have the American sound, especially on gains and cleans, and the more you go over here, the more British it's going to sound. Well, we're going to discover that in a few minutes, if it's gimmick or if it really, really works. Equalization. Now, the EQs are shared for both of the gain channel. Only the clean has its own bass and treble. For the gain channel, you have a shared EQ, which is okay. I guess if you were in a higher you know, GVM 400 series, you would have EQs for both channels, but it doesn't bother me here. I'm so used to it, and the amp is super diverse. I can tell you, don't be confused by those two gain channels sharing the same EQ, because these two in itself with different voicings, it's very diverse. And listen, British, USA, I don't even know what the fuck that means. What does that mean? Listen, either it sounds great or it doesn't, okay? So you're gonna find a tone that matches to what your personal choice is. Amps are more subjective than guitars, you know? This whole American to British, who cares? Does it sound good or not, you know? So the EQ, of course, you have bass, middle, treble, the infinite shape feature, which then controls those three and is supposed to give you characteristics between the American and British sound, whatever that means. Gain and clean. So here, now that we're in this section, we can actually start from the left. Clean is very simple. They all have their individual volumes, and then of course you have the master volume, which is really cool. If you have the 5-foot switch pedal, you also get a dB boost on there for soloing, but then again, you're probably gonna have some pedals in the middle too to slightly process the sound. Today, we're gonna go straight into the amp, and even better, we're gonna use a Strat and a Les Paul to check both, because on the demo videos from a store, you'll see like one guitar plugged in, but we're gonna use the most classic ones, Les Paul and Strat. And as a matter of fact, we'll use a Les Paul with 490, 498 pickups, and then the Eric Johnson Strat. So you get kind of the best of far left and far right. This is really super cool here. The two gain channels, they have their own gain and their own volume, but then you have, or you know, two overdrive channels, but then you have different voicings. Again, when this is out, you're more in the USA-ish type of sound. When this is in, you get a different gain structure and a different voicing. They call it voicing. So you really have two sounds that you can freely manipulate between the gain channels, which is super, super, super cool. If you look at the pedal here, and I have the pedal to my left, and let me show you right there. So if I click the channel, it obviously goes from nothing to nothing, ironically. Let's see what's going on here. If I click voice, let's see, there you go. So it changes the voice between those two. Now you need the the foot switch with the five-way foot switch, I'm sorry, to be able to also take out the voicings. With this, you gotta have the voicing pre-selected. So you're kind of limited with the two switch, because when you click this, all it's gonna do is change between that, okay? So, and there you go, when you click channel here, now I'm gonna click channel, it's gonna go between clean and distorted. So clean, distorted, clean, distorted. Then the voicing gives you the different voices there. So no matter what gain you're on, you can switch between clean and distorted, but with the two-way, you can only do so much. So also in the clean channel, if I click voice now, you can also change between that kind of more USA or British setting. So what's really neat is that even the clean, sorry about that. What's really neat is that even the clean channel has its own little voice controls. So you really have two sounds within each of those settings. So technically, if you want to look at it from a theory standpoint, you have really 3 channels, or 5 if you take the voicings in, which is really, really cool. To me, that's all good and great. It's all about how they sound and what kind of tones you're trying to get out of it, especially unprocessed. let's, you know what? Let's plug in and see what this puppy sounds like. Let's check right off the bat about certain advertised things. And remember, we're gonna do a Les Paul and a Strat, because on the store demos, you're gonna see one guitar, but really a Strat and a Les Paul are gonna cover the biggest left and right and everything in between. I'm using this really cool new wireless system, the U2. Nothing too fancy, but for at home, it's kind of cool. The reason I chose this Les Paul, it's just a 50s tribute. It's actually a phenomenal Les Paul. It has the same pickups as a Les Paul Custom 490 and 498s. And then we'll use the Eric Johnson Strat instead of the Malmsteen Strat, because it's a little bit more classic Strat, okay? Right off the bat, let's just really be thorough and explore the clean channel. And I have the pedal here so we can switch the voices. I have the bass pretty neutral. I mean, listen, clean is clean, and you're never going to play it unprocessed. So you're going to use either an XMR 169 to get a little delay, or you're going to have your pedal in the 4-cable method anyway. But this is all about straight into the amp today. If I hook up my GT100, then what's the point of reviewing the amp? So we're going to go have the treble set a little bit past around 1 o'clock, and the bass pretty neutral, so we can explore the clean on the Les Paul and the clean on the Strat, see how different it is, and go from there. We'll start in the bridge position, and before we even get into the playing, I don't want it to be too much about playing, because otherwise it becomes about that. Let's keep it about the amp. So no shredding today. Reverb about 10 a.m. where you would usually have it. Let's work our way back and see if first and foremost the things work as advertised with our 60 to 6 watt switch. So here's let's see. Going to engage that. Perfect. So it works really, really well. On some amps that have it, it actually isn't as good quality as on this one. You can tell you don't use the quality of the amp even though you're cutting the voltage. Now watch when I engage it, it goes up by well, from 6 to 60, 10 times 10, 100%. So watch this. Engaged it without it over distorting. So it's cutting the preamp, which is really cool. Neck. The cleans are spectacular. They are, to me, right off the bat, no better or worse than Fender, Marshall, anything. They're just truly its own thing. And I truly, right off the bat, one thing I appreciated the first time I started messing with it was that Blackstar isn't trying to be Marshall or Fender. It truly is Blackstar. And again, you cannot have a more neutral opinion at this point than mine, because I never really even played them. So this is very, very neutral, you know, if you're thinking about getting one of those. So let's turn the bass all the way up. Get a little bit of that jazzy feeling, you know. Bass all the way down. Very thin, kind of like twang, you know. Very, very twang, you know. And then you're probably gonna have that somewhere in the middle. A treble all the way down. Dark, obviously, and very high up. A little bit of that slashy kind of Paradise City thing. So really nice if you have it in the middle about 1 p.m. here. So now let's engage the voice. Remember, lights off, American, lights on, British is the idea, and the infinite shape feature is supposed to change that. Let's see how it affects it. So when I click the voice, it's supposed to get a little bit more woody. And I'm going to compare on one chord rather than being all over the fretboard, because otherwise you lose the sonic thing. I'll give you a sign when I engage the voice, plus you're going to see the light go on here. I hope you can tell. So here we go. Lights off, going to on. difference right away. It truly has a little bit more of that British hollowness, tonally sound to it. Let me give it to you individually. Off, American, on. That definitely has a Marshall quality to it right off the bat. 100% Marshallish. Off. So very clear and dry in the off. And more woodyish here. If you have a nice little delay touch there, you can probably get some really spectacular sounds out of it. On. Very, very nice. And how cool that you have that within the same channel. Just really makes it exciting and gives you so many options. Let's check how it sounds clean with the Strat. Real quick, the reverb, I have it about 1 p.m. because I want to see if you can tell the difference between that light and dark. I know the button, I memorized it, it's right there. So this is supposedly the light one and the dark. I really can't tell the difference in sound whatsoever, except for that one is longer than the other. So this will be short and long. It's the thing with those digital reverbs, they just never really sound, you know. But I want to keep it on the short one. Same thing, let's explore what the Strat would sound through it. And we'll play something random and go through the pickup selection, you know. There's your money shot. Wow, I mean, oh boy, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, this is probably some of the best cleans I've heard in an amp. And remember, this is not the most exciting what we're doing, but it's supposed to be straight in. I can hook up pedals and delays, and we can have a jam session. But this is straight in via wireless nonetheless. And you sometimes, well, with these new ones, you don't really lose signal quality that much. But this is truly, I mean, listen to this. And the amp responds so well on those little nuances. So really, 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 really nice. I'll go a little bit down on the reverb here. Let's check out the different voicing here. So this will be back to our chords like we did with the Les Paul. Voice on. Not so much profound difference like on the Les Paul, because the single coils probably don't pick it up so well. So on, off, I'll go back and forth so you can hear the difference between the voicings on the clean. It gives a little bit more of woodiness when the light is engaged, but just absolutely spectacular. Just enjoy these sounds. Listen to this. to be a great player, but if you have a really, really good Strat and a really good amp, it just sounds stupid good. And these are just, it's just a 3-chord loop and nothing fancy. We're not doing Dream Theater here. But if it sounds this good, on a simple loop, straight in, imagine the possibilities. So the cleans are absolutely unreal how good the cleans are. I mean, I don't know how they were in the past with this particular brand, how they're going to be in the future, but let me tell you something. As somebody who knows Marshall and Fender amps for over 25 years of playing them, this is, there's no confusion. There's another family member there right now. Let's go check out the gains. So we're going to the distorted channel, okay? Channel switch goes from clean, and then here you have the voices. Let's check out Overdrive 1. I have it pretty neutral, gain at 12 o'clock and volume at 1/4 to match, and obviously your master volume can be individual, so if you go from clean, I can make that really loud, so it's louder than the clean. You know, so you can really set it up the way you want, and if you use it in a 4-cable method, even better. We're going to do the lights off. You see, here's let me show you the sound, okay? So this is Overdrive 1, very neutral setting, gain in the middle. Very cool, kind of like that in-between rhythm, Malcolm Youngish kind of thing. Rest in peace, man. What a hero. So, with the thing engaged, more British. I feel like when you engage the voice, all it does is give it a little bit of more body to it, okay? Now, here's where it's a little bit of a failure. They give you the the foot switch with the 2 buttons so I can switch between the channel voices. But then if I want to switch between the voice within the channel, I gotta come do it manually, and to me that's so stupid, man. It's really dumb. Honestly, it is. Rather than you charging me the extra $100 for another pedal, just charge $25 more for the amp and include it, especially on your highest end model combo, man. To me, it kind of angers me. It's fucking stupid. That's what it is. So you're letting me change with this thing. You're giving me. But then if I want the other thing, I gotta come here and or give you another $100. So it's just dumb. It kind of ruins the whole experience for me because I actually love the different voicings. So whatever. So anyway, without the voice engaged, the gain is still phenomenal. It's really, really clear. A little bit more body, okay? With the gain all the way down, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is the gain all the way down, not the volume. You obviously have. Here it's like Gibson SG-ish, very thin. Gain all the way up. I think the most use you're going to get out of that is really on being rhythm, doing rhythm stuff somewhere in the middle. Probably with the voice on, see a little bit body, depends if you have 2 guitar players in the band or not. But this is really cool here, check it out. Really nice channels. I think that the one without the voice is slightly confused about what it wants to be. But with the voice on, you have a really nice body. Of course, the EQs, I have it set pretty neutral now, around 12 o'clock. You can imagine, I mean, we can be here for hours adjusting middle, treble, and all that stuff, but I want you to have an overall idea. Let's check out the shape feature. This is really cool. So I'll do it in the middle here. Actually, let me start the extremes, left to right. American all the way to British. That's very American. All the way up. Much more body. All the way down. Much more twangy. I'll give you the G middle kind of. Check this out. as I change it. So we went from really light body to almost woody, which is kind of a little bit almost muddy when you're all the way up. It's great to have this. It truly is. If I had to be honest, it's not just a gimmick. It really works well. I don't know that Marshall and Fender have this. It's kind of pretty cool. It's pretty cool. At this point, in the middle, of course, is where you're going to find that sweet spot. And again, I'm giving you very simple chords so you can really hear the amp rather than... Having experiences with amps for 25 years, the strength of what they did here, and from reading, I guess, was the issue with the previous generation, is that the overdrives are very well contained, rather than, you know how sometimes on cheaper amps when you go loud or a lot of gain, it kind of starts just being like, you know, it's stunning how clear the gains here are. It's truly stunning. Let's go to Overdrive 2, and again, without the, you can already hear the, and these are obviously very aggressive pickups, without the voice, and we'll do open chords on purpose. You're really getting into heavier stuff here now, and mind you, the gain is only 1 o'clock, so let's engage the voice thing, which gives it even more body. Stuff that usually amps would not want to be exposed to, open voicings on high gain, and it's spectacular how clear it is. With this engaged, you're probably going to be already like more in the soloing thing, but with it off, you can still play some fantastic rhythms. And mind you, these are humbuckers that are very aggressive, some of the most aggressive ones that Gibson makes, and still the clarity is absolutely amazeballs. Listen to this. If you want to expose an amp's weakness, this will be it right here with open voicings on because the amp's going to sound good here, but it's spectacular. If you go here and turn the gain up even more, and this is just still in the quarter, it's a loud amp. Here you're already kind of in the soloing thing, you know, it's like... Spectacular. Again, the only thing that it sucks, you know, I can't really get to the climax because I'm limited by this stupid fucking switch, you know, and I have to go to Sweetwater and you know, spend 80, 90, 100 bucks, whatever it is to get so I can switch between the voicings. So it's stupid, but that being said, it doesn't take away from how spectacular the gains are. They're just unbelievable. Let's check out on the, where's Mary Johnson, how the Strat sounds compared to that. Same exact thing, same settings. Let's check out the gain channels. Obviously this is going to have a little bit less punch in your face than the 490 and 498, but obviously if you buy this guitar, you're not buying it to play metal. It's not built for that, and it's not its intent. And that's what's so beautiful about being able to do this review with a Strat and a Les Paul, is because you truly get, I mean, it changes the whole dynamic of how the amp sounds, and does it represent both in a good way. So here we go with the gain. Channel 1, no voicing off. But I don't think it's great. It's not I think for that particular Overdrive 1 without the voice on, you might need a humbucker. It's nice, it's not bad, but it doesn't like break my heart like a Marshall would here. And these are some of the best sounding pickups on the Strat I've ever played, the Eric Johnson pickups, and I can tell you right now that this pickup sounds better on a mid overdrive on other amps. I'm trying to find that sweet spot, but it's good. It's not great. It maybe a little bit more gain. That might be more it. Really good, not great. Let's turn the voice on and give it that body. Without, sorry, I have to press. They don't give me a switch. I'm purposely playing very dumb, simple stuff so we can see the difference. You're gonna need this sound on single coils. Without. It's too dry. You're gonna have to have some delay or something on there. With it on, it'll pass. But I feel I have to force it to be great. Let's go to the high-end gain. And since this is more aggressive, I have the gain a little bit more on. 1 PM, no voice. That's good. With on. That's truly the sweet spot there, you know. But again, the preamp is so good that even on the open voicings, you don't get that mesh. It's still very, very clear and pronounced. If you really, again, want to expose an amp, play something you will play clean on a distorted setting. And the ultimate will be, let's say, funk. Let's play something funk and see how well the distortion can handle it before it gets muddy, or meshy, I should say. Not something you will play on with gain, but it's really, really nice how the gain handles it. Let's go to 2. I'm going to switch that here. Oh god, this is so confusing. A 5-channel amp with a 2-channel switching board. Let's go there. Alright, here we go. Gain everything on. And let's check let's go to Overdrive 1 and check how the infinite shape feature works. shorty here. That's the word that also Blackstar uses. Very clean here. 20 British shorty. In the middle, I think, is the sweet spot. Very, very nice. But I think the true sweet spot for a single coil, if you have good single coils, and of course with these you're going to get a little hum or more hum than on the humbuckers, is really with the gain quite high, you know. Very clear and contained gain, so really nice job. Turn a little bit down. Really nice job on the gain. I can tell you the gains are some of the most spectacular gains of going straight into the amp. Remember, we're naked here. There's nothing. We got this and that is it. Let me also, so you've heard it, give you the difference of presence and resonance, of course, so you can hear that. Very thin. Ooh, it's reverb. More bodied. Somewhere 1 p.m. probably sweet spot, 12 to 1 p.m. Presence. Almost a little bit too bright. So 12 to 1 p.m. probably, unless you have a special need, and then of course the volume, which goes crazy. You know, let's plug in the Paul Reed Smith real quick for 30 seconds. I'll give you some closing feedback, and we'll have some fun. So for this just being dry in, I mean straight in I should say, that's pretty spectacular. I think they did a great job. They did a great job. It's worth every penny, minus this foot pedal thing, which you know, just gives it a, you know, I wish it's like an extra cherry on top, but spectacular amp. I know the stores are going to tell you to buy it anyway because, you know, they got to sell your gear, and God bless them, that's awesome. But you know, if you can get a great deal on this, it's a spectacular amp. If you know Marshall and Fender, this will greatly complement that. I will actually take this over my 5150 because this is a little bit more, has the same gain capabilities, but much more classy cleans, and the build quality is fantastic. The sounds are fantastic, and I look really forward to spending a few weeks, months on it and playing the shit out of it. So I give it a full pass, and it's a spectacular piece of equipment, a great amp that's going to make you happy, and I hope you get a little bit of an idea. I purposely played the more simple open stuff to really you know, give you the idea what the amp is all about, and I hope you're excited about it as much as I am. So I'm very happy with the purchase. I think it's worth every penny. Of course, you're going to get a little bit cheaper, especially if you know, can get some deals. But then list price, I mean. But it's fully worth it. Spectacular amp. So happy jamming, and thank you for all your kind words and reviews. And I'll see you in the Facebook clubs. So have a good one and rock out.